Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope that you are all well and staying safe and cozy during this time. I'm really excited about this video because I'm going to be doing a response to Kelly-Ann Maddox's Happy Witch tag, which I was so thrilled to see, and I've been really enjoying watching everyone else's VRs to this tag as well. It's been such a lovely, uplifting kind of video to watch at the moment, and just reminding me of all the wonderful things about being a witch that I absolutely love every single day. It's so nice to talk about these things and not feel like a weirdo, you know? I'm just gonna get right on into it. What makes you happiest about the fact that you are a witch? So for me, being able to say that now is so joyful, because although I found witchcraft when I was about 11 years old and started doing research and I was interested in it, I had lots of people around me telling me it was a phase, or it was weird, or yeah, don't do that. And so then I just kept it quiet. But we didn't have YouTube then, we didn't have social media, and you know, the internet was really bad, like really bad. But I found out what I could on the internet and through some very popular movies that are probably not the best thing to watch, but that many of us sort of entered this world through, if that makes sense. So I absolutely loved those movies, but I actually did practice, you know, and I did a lot of reading and stuff, but I don't think I really got it. But I did read and practice during my teens. Mostly I was practicing things that would sort of keep bullies away from me and stuff, because I had some people who picked on me, but they always worked and it was a lot of fun. But I didn't look into the kind of deeper things that I kind of consider now. Loved the aesthetic. I always loved the idea of being able to sort of be creative and then to create, you know, my manifestation of what it was I wanted. But I started going to a Baptist church when I was about 17, 18, because my parents moved and I was new in this village and I was on a gap year. So I went to the church to get to know some people, and I started to realise pretty soon that I wouldn't be able to really get to know people and carry on with what I was doing. And I was learning how to read tarot at the time. That's when I got my first deck and I was loving it, but I felt like conflicted, and I was such a sponge. I really was. I was someone who was just soaking up everything around them. I wanted to make friends, so I kind of like packed that part of me away. And then even after I'd left the church, because I knew that that wasn't the right way for me, even though I had a strong connection to and with Jesus, and I, you know, believed in a lot of the moral principles, there were a lot of things I didn't believe in, and I knew that that wasn't right for me. And I still called myself a Christian, you know, on forums and stuff. I didn't really know what it was ultimately, because I felt like I'd had to shut down that sort of spiritual side of myself to please other people, essentially. Through my 20s, I was so busy trying to work for a company in London, and I was commuting, and I was out of the house for like 15 hours a day, and my brain was so full. And at one point I was being treated really badly. At one place I worked, I was being treated really badly, and I was just in this kind of like just survive mentality. A long explanation, but really it brings me so much joy because it has brought me through some of the toughest moments of my life, including having postnatal depression and OCD and post-traumatic stress disorder after my children were born, both of them actually in differing degrees and for different reasons. Specifically after my son was born, it was one of the scariest points for me, and I feel like having my practice actually helped to heal me in a way that drugs and talking therapies couldn't. You know, shadow work, it's been really key for me and vital. And I mean, the talking therapies and all of the psychological methods and stuff, they have been so powerful, and I also have found it so important for me to have antidepressants at certain points. So I would absolutely advocate those to anyone who feels that they need them. I'm not one of those people who writes them off, but for me, stepping back into that witch, stepping back into the witch that I am, was such an empowering moment. I realised I could just make the decision. I don't need to take an exam or read 100 books or anything. I can make that decision for myself. I'd already read quite a lot of literature, and I had some other books that I wanted to pick up and read, so I just started reading. I got some of the old books that I used to have again. I picked up a new tarot deck. I got some new books. I got some secondhand books, you know, really inexpensively, and I just threw myself back into reading. And I found that I learned quite a lot quite quickly. And then I discovered YouTube for witchy people and tarot people. So it has been something that I feel like like is coming home, and I know a lot of other people have said that in the answer to this question. It does feel like coming home to me, and it feels so empowering just to step into that witch, who I am, that inner witch, and really get to know her, and that is what makes me the happiest of all. Which practice do you tend to enjoy the most in your witchcraft, and why? So there are various things I love doing. I love reading about witchcraft and tarot in general. I think it's probably quite obvious that tarot is a massive part of my journey, and so I'd say divination is a big part of that, but really it's tarot, because I spend comparatively not much time at all scrying or throwing runes, and I don't have an OM set. I would love to have an OM set one day, but I don't really work with runes too often. I don't scry too often. Comparatively, it's a very, very small amount to the amount I use tarot. Tarot is a daily practice for me, plus, you know, sometimes several readings in a day if I'm doing a bigger spread, but I always have a daily practice as well, and I have a lot of decks now, and it's a big, big part of my life, so definitely that. But also lighting a candle, having that moment, grounding and centering is so, so vital for me, especially during this year. It's been like a lifesaver to be able to, when it was warmer, you know, take my feet out onto the grass, plant my feet in the ground and visualize. I've been working a lot on visualization techniques and doing more sort of astrally, which is so, so powerful for me, and I love that. I also love incense, burning incense. My favorite is from Joey Morris at Starry-Eyed Supplies. She does my favorite incense. I absolutely love it. And also candles, working with candles and petitions, and herbs, working with herbs. I create a lot of oils for myself, for my hair, for my body, for my face. I make my own face wash. I use herbs in tea, and I create all kinds of herbal blends for burning incense as well, so that is one of my favorite things to do as well. I think the thing I do the most often though is probably the tarot, but I still enjoy the other stuff just as much. And also, when I have been able to, there is a local group to me, a circle that meets, and obviously this year we've not really met a lot, but in previous years I have met up with other like-minded souls locally to me, and that has been so wonderful as well, to have that connection to real people in the real world who are similar thinkers to me, and to have that bond with those people has been so, so magical. So I would definitely say that in different circumstances, being in a group setting has been so wonderful as well. How have you changed in positive ways as a result of practicing the craft? So I feel like I'm a lot more confident now and able to protect my energy, for one. I think that before, when I knew stuff but I wasn't really practicing anything, and I hadn't stepped back into my witch, I was like absorbing lots and lots of energy from other people. I, you know, wasn't protecting myself properly. I have stronger boundaries for myself now, which is really, really important, and I think that that makes me a better listener. I think it makes me a better friend. I think I'm less paranoid than I ever was before. I think I care less. I care less what other people think of me. It's helped me on YouTube, it's helped me with my confidence, it's helped me to honour myself more and to be less harsh on myself, because I am kind of a bit of a type A person and have been known to be a bit of a perfectionist in the past, and I think that it helps me to give myself the grace to, you know, forgive myself. It helps me to be calmer and to be more aware. It's mindfulness really, presence, and bringing myself back to gratitude. You know, it's always helping me to be mindful and to be grateful for what I have. And even if I slip back into, you know, if I hear those inner monologues that are really critical, or that are telling me, you know, oh, well, you're not good enough because you don't have this, or you can't do that, X, Y, and Z, so you're not good enough, you're not as good as that person. I'm just like, you know what, that is not a thought that serves me, and I'm able to like mindfully, you know, backtrack and actually replace it with another thought. It's like cognitive behavioral therapy, I guess, but more of a spiritual witchy kind of way of doing it. But yeah, it's mindfulness really, and just being so much more aware of the energy that I'm putting out there as well. And I feel that has changed me in so many ways. And also the fact that I basically was able to get through the postnatal depression and the OCD and the PTSD after having a traumatic birth with my daughter. She was born with group B strep and she was very sick. It was a traumatic birth, but then also it was traumatic afterwards because she was very ill. So being able to get through all of that and the trauma that left me with has been so, so powerful as well. So, you know, obviously we are all wounded in certain ways. I'm not saying that I'm like perfect and put back together, you know. I'm like one of those kitsune when you like seal yourself back up with gold. I'm like that basically. So I've been pieced back together with gold, and I'm stronger, and yeah, it's more beautiful. I love that about it. What has been the most positive result you have had from a spell or ritual? Okay, so I have a few things. Before, like when I was younger, I believe that I manifested certain things into being myself. Quite big things, like meeting my partner. It happened within a week of me deciding that I was ready to meet someone, the right person. It was a very serendipitous kind of meeting. So that was really, really special and key to my life because he is now my husband, etc. But also I was able to achieve my first class honours at university, and at the time when I decided I was going to, I think I was in the second year at uni and I was probably going to get a 2-1 maybe, and I just said nope, I'm making my decision, I'm going to get a first class honours, and I made that decision and it was like a click, and it just then happened. It just happened, you know. I worked my socks off, but it, you know, it happened. I was so proud of myself for that because I actually believed it, you know, and I didn't have any of those doubts, and looking back on those is teaching me how to manifest better and how to follow through with law of attraction better. So that's not really spellcraft, but I believe that I manifested those things. In terms of like spell work and ritual, I think the most powerful things that I've been able to do have been protection for myself and for other people. Most recently I performed a protection spell for a parent that I know who was being verbally attacked and abused by another parent. I put this protection charm over her. I did a candle burning ritual. It was all very intuitive. I just spoke out the words of intent. I did a petition. I used certain herbs, and within a week this person who was abusing this person I was trying to protect literally up and left. They moved away and they've not really had any contact, I don't believe, since. So they literally just left within the week. So that was pretty powerful. And other than that, it's been a lot about self-love and also, you know, peace and love within the family and keeping things calm. You know, a lot of what I do day to day is to do with my children. I look after 2 children. I do the school run for them. I have a job. I work from home. And so it's keeping a house, doing the school run, looking after my kids. My son has one day at home, so I'm with him one day, but it's the school run either end of the day, and then I'm working at the other times. So it's very, very busy, and so my life is very pentacles, you know, in terms of like the tarot. It's very earthy, earth-based, elementally, and a lot of it is about having peace in the house, calmness, and sort of fostering that kind of environment where they can really grow and express themselves freely and learn that it's okay to feel certain things. So I want them to understand that it's okay to express anger, for instance, or sadness, but that there are ways that we can express those things in a way that's not damaging to other people. So really, really trying to bring more witchiness into the way that I parent has been really, really key for me. So yeah, mostly those are the most powerful things, I think. Oh, and probably as well, like just, I'm not going to say I healed myself, but you know, helping myself to heal from trauma and from OCD and postnatal depression and PTSD after my children have been born, etc. I think that that's been a really powerful manifestation for myself as well. How has your craft enriched the lives of others? This kind of carries on from the previous question. I definitely believe that I am a calmer person. I think I'm a better mum. I think I'm a better wife. I think I'm a better friend, and I think I'm just generally happier. So that is probably putting out good energy into the world. I used to volunteer and do things for charity before, but I think, you know, I'm doing that more mindfully now, and definitely advocating for others is a big part of what I feel I'm called to do. So it's very important to me. So I feel like those are perhaps the ways. What are you most looking forward to trying in your craft and why? So for me, I am starting to learn a little bit more about ceremonial magic, and I'm really, really excited to try the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which I've been reading about. I recently picked up a book by Israel Regardie, The Middle Pillar, and I have been reading a little bit of that, and I'm just gonna go slowly and learn it before I start practicing it. I am really, really intrigued to start learning more and practicing more higher magic as well as the lower magic, and I'm not thinking I'm going to become a ceremonial magician, but I'm just really intrigued to learn it and to get more involved in it as well. I have quite a few books on my shelf that I really, really want to read, and I feel like I can't really pick kind of an area because I feel like I'm passionate about so much. But one thing that's definitely come through in my practice has been tarot, and that's just naturally happened. So I would probably say, if I had to say something, then I guess I'm a divination witch. But definitely I do candle magic, and I like reading about hoodoo. I absolutely love learning about folkloric traditions. I think learning about the druids is really interesting, druidry, and reading about kind of lower magics like kitchen witchery and green witchcraft and hedge witchery as well. I'm really absolutely intrigued to do more astral work and working with dreams as well. Also developing my ancestral veneration practice as well has been really, really special, and I want to do more of that. I also do paint and I do draw. I have several different books of shadows or journals, whatever you want to call them really, that I work with, but I can't always get to do painting and drawing and things like that. I absolutely love the art witch thing though. I have always had a passion for drawing and painting ever since I was little. My mum was an art teacher, and now up until very recently she was a lecturer at the National Gallery here in the UK. I've always loved art, and I did A-level art, and I almost went to art school as well. And it was so funny because I was torn between going to drama school or art school, and I went for some interviews at art schools, and I was told my work was great and I could go there if I wanted to, but it was quite clear that I didn't really want to go because I kept talking about drama school, and I was like, yeah. So I did want to go to drama school as well, like the two kind of art and drama went together, but I also wanted a degree, so that's why I went to university, and I kind of discovered that I loved learning and I loved writing, and that's why I became a writer, and that's kind of where my journey went. But I recently discovered that I actually stopped painting and drawing around a similar time that I had to let go of my witchiness, which I think is so interesting. Obviously I probably did bits and bobs here and there, but I just didn't find time for it. I didn't prioritize it, and I remember in my 20s I got myself a canvas and I started painting again, and oil painting, and I was painting some trauma from my body. It was really a therapeutic process, and so I think that that was magic as well in itself, even though I hadn't stepped back into my witch then. I have a few witchy books, journals. I have a tarot journal I use every day, and sometimes rituals, new moon and full moon rituals go in there as well because it just is very convenient. I also have a very kind of set out grimoire that I got from Amazon that's got like fields for everything, so you can literally write down your spell ingredients and then what to do, and I use that as well to get the information down. Also, if there's things that don't fit in, I have a binder that I just write out onto lined or plain paper and do little diagrams of things so that I have them there, but the plan is to eventually copy them into my bigger book of shadows. And this is just a hard sketchbook that I painted gold, and one day I would like to decorate it. I'm just not sure with what yet. So I just kind of like started doing some doodling and such, and you know, keeping it really plain, but you see I've like left spare pages. This is my moon phases page, so it's just watercolor. I did some like meditation and some work there. This is a wheel of the year that I created. And again, the page isn't finished. Nothing is finished in here because it's very rare that I actually get to go in here. I have this like Avalonian page here. This was a clover spell that I did for healing, and I sketched out the clover. It's very, very minimal. At the front I have an image that is kind of embarrassing, but this is like an image of me but in the guise of the Morrigan. I did this with oil pastels and I've layered some paint on top, and it was kind of channeled, I think. I don't get a lot of time to do this, but one thing I have started doing is creating my own tarot deck, and I don't know how I want to get the colour onto the work, but I do know that I want to start with original sketches, and so that's the work that I've done so far. So this is a sketch I did for the Empress. This is a sketch I did for the Tower. So it's all very, very raw at the moment, but yeah, hopefully I would love to create a tarot deck one day. It is in the works, kind of, not really. But I'm giving myself until I die basically to do it, and if I don't finish it then maybe someone will help me finish it when I'm dead. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun really, it's for me, and I don't love sharing too much of my art because it is so personal. It's not for other people, it's for me, but that is part of the magic. And also I love that it can be messy as well, and a lot of my art is actually in notebooks with like lined paper because I'm just like sketching out something I've seen in a meditation, and it's not perfect, it's not drawn really well or anything, it's just like really like bang it out quickly, you know, like a minute kind of drawing, but it evokes that moment, you know, during the meditation or the visualization or whatever, and it's powerful, you know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I want to do some more working with the Morrigan, do some more kind of aspecting the goddess. I did do a bit of that previously, but I've not been doing so much of that this year. There are so many things that I am so excited to do and to do more of and to learn more about. I am going to be forever learning. I'm forever a student and so excited to do that. What do you like the most about the witchy community online and or offline? What I like the most is being able to share and to feel safe doing so. I think that when I was growing up there wasn't that. That's what I love about the online community, and that is there. And in real life I love that actually there are people around me that I didn't realise it who are actually quite witchy and who are like, oh yeah, like I actually have some friends who are really into it and who have been into stuff like this for a while, and like the law of attraction and like oracle cards and Reiki and things like that, and just talking about it, like it gets it all coming out. And now everyone, even some of my closest friends, are really, really witchy, even though I might not have even known that or thought that originally. So I think that it's just wonderful to be able to share and to know as well that it's okay if someone practices something differently, and that's just so beautiful. I just love that. So I think it's really important to celebrate those differences and that diversity within our community. So I just love that. I love it so much. How do you envision your craft evolving positively in the future? I've kind of already answered that. I mean, I definitely want to do more art. That is a thing I want to do more of. More art magic and more reading, of course, and more in the community. I think I want to definitely teach my kids a bit more as they grow. Rosalie, my daughter, has some oracle decks, but I would really like to get her like a tarot deck for small people. So I'm kind of thinking about that, but you know, I'd like to teach her some of those things and teach her basic energetic work, you know, things like that. I feel like I can't imagine ever sort of saying, oh, this is what I do and I'm a so-and-so witch, because green witchcraft, kitchen witchcraft, art witchcraft, tarot, you know, candle magic, all of these things really resonate with me. Traditional witchcraft, even Wicca resonates to a degree. Wicca is basically what I first learnt. It's what most people first learnt in the 90s, because unfortunately Wicca and witchcraft was sort of synonymous in a lot of books and to a lot of people, and so it sort of went hand in hand, and so that's how I kind of learnt everything. I mean, I think that I would like it to evolve. I would like to be able to connect more to spirit in terms of a kind of medium sort of way, because I do feel that there are messages coming through and I don't think that I'm necessarily like hearing them at the right time, because I have had prophetic dreams, but it's only obviously afterwards that I realised that they were prophetic. Before the pandemic I was writing down my dreams every day. Every morning I would wake up and I had a file on my phone and I'd write out what happened. But then after, when I had to start homeschooling the kids, we were getting up so early and doing that, there was just no time in the morning to do it, and then I find that my dream had drifted, and I have not got back into the habit of doing that, and that I think was really, really supporting my astral work and really, really supporting me to hearing messages from spirit and from ancestors and such. So that's something I want to get back more into as well, and I think that that would really support my practice a lot. How do you keep your witchcraft practice healthy, happy and productive? Definitely grounding, everyday grounding, having a daily practice, even if it's just the tarot, lighting a candle, but the grounding for sure. For me, meditation isn't the easiest thing to do because of having kids around. I'm not able to do meditation in the mornings before I get up. Usually, sometimes at the weekend I can get 10 minutes, but there's always noise going on. But the time that it does work for me is when everyone's already asleep, and so before I go to sleep I will meditate or do a journey, or I will do a guided meditation or a guided hypnosis during that time, and I usually go to sleep in it, which perhaps isn't the best thing, but at the moment it's kind of what works for me because I have 2 small children and my life is busy in that way. But definitely meditation would be really supportive for me. I'm kind of blending these together. But yeah, how do you keep your witchcraft practice healthy, happy and productive? It's definitely being mindful. Mindfulness, journaling, having a tarot practice every day has really, really helped, because it just helps you to kind of look at the way that you're behaving, how you're reacting to things, responding to things, where your feelings, your emotions are. I think things like doing breath work is so powerful for me, and I also think things like body scans are really, really simple to do, really easy to do, and they can really, really support you in that moment, and it's that kind of that quick magic that you can do. Also things like putting intentions into a cup of coffee, you know, that's your magic right there, and I would do that a lot. I do that a lot with hot chocolate, specifically for self-love and for energy and for, you know, comfort and a sense of well-being. I do that a lot and it works. I think that there's magic everywhere, and on my other channel I'm doing quite a lot of Christmassy content, and I talked a bit about how Christmas music was like a protective buffer for me during a time that was really hard when I had a boss who was abusive towards me. When I travelled to work, I was on a train and I would listen to Mariah Carey and her Christmas albums around September time, because I felt that it surrounded me with this bubble of light and it was so loving and warm, and even if all of this shit was thrown at me throughout the day, I was just like, it didn't even though it did touch me really, I did feel like I was protected with that music. And so even when, during that time, although I hadn't stepped back into my witch at that point, she was there, you know, and she was working for me. She was doing what was important. And I also think, like I said before, it was like protection, because my mind couldn't go there. And I remember it was so strange. During that time, one day on my lunch break, I went to a secondhand bookshop and I saw a lot of witchcraft books and spiritual books, and I was like, sort of shocked that I'd kind of forgotten what I used to love and know so much about. And I was just like, can I be that again? Like, is that me? And I just remember that feeling of like being outside of myself. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very strange. But I think that during hard times, that's something that your body and your ego does for you to help you to be protected, basically, to help you to survive. It's really, really interesting, and hindsight is always so, so powerful, isn't it? The benefit of the hindsight. So keeping my practice healthy, happy and productive, it's definitely about grounding and mindfulness and doing those sort of, I guess it's spiritual maintenance kind of work as well. Protection work is such a big part of my practice, and I really think I need to do it more. I do tend to do small amounts when I clean, which is every week, but I think I need to put up shields and wards more often. But I do always do that to my body, myself, when I go out. I want to get more of a routine and a specific set of rituals in place for that, because I've sort of been scattered everywhere with it. But it's definitely about spiritual maintenance, mindfulness, grounding, centering, and that is really the core of a healthy practice for me. What is one piece of advice you would share with other witches to help them make their path more positive? I personally think, I wish someone had said to me years ago, you don't need to be a Wiccan to be a witch. You don't need to have an athame or an athame, however people say it, to be a witch. You don't need to have an altar out all the time to be a witch. You don't even have to have any tools. You can literally have a twig and a leaf and an acorn and be a witch. You don't even have to have those. You can have your witchcraft up here. Something I think that's really, really powerful for witches, new witches or witches who have been practicing for a really long time, I think it's really, really powerful to ask yourself some questions about who is a witch to you, what the word witch means, who is the witch hunter, who is your witch, what is the witch to you, what does the word mean to you, who is the witch hunter. And I recently did an amazing witchcraft course with a friend of mine who is an amazing woman, and it was such a powerful experience. It was all online basically, but some of the questions that came up a lot were about this witch wound that we have inside us because of the persecutions, the burning times, the ways in which witches were persecuted, and oftentimes these people weren't even witches, they were women and children, mostly some men who lived on the edge of villages, who were disliked, beautiful people who incurred the wrath of certain jealous people. Healers and doulas and people like that were the ones who would be executed, and reading about some of the ways in which these people suffered is so difficult. I recently read Power of the Witch by Laurie Cabot, and in it she details actually what some of these torturing methods were, and I think that it is really an enlightening and important thing to do as a member of the witchy community. And in today's day and age, I think it's really important work to do, shadow work, trauma work, witch wound work, whatever you want to call it, but it's like discovering who that witch is to you, what your associations to the word are, because even though I'm more than happy to claim that word and reclaim it back, I noticed myself thinking of the word in a negative way, or thinking of someone that I think is behaving really unpleasantly as a witch, and I was like, oh no, 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 and I had to stop myself, because that's not what a witch is. I'm a witch. That person's just not a nice person. You know, that was the process I had to take my mind through, and it was bringing up for me a lot of stuff that I didn't realise, that these prejudices I still had against the word, and these misconceptions I still had about the word, even though I'd claimed it as my own. And I think we have a responsibility to those people who were executed all that time ago, and to our witch forefathers and mothers. I think that we have a responsibility as people in the witch community today, and in this day and age, I think that we really have a responsibility to look after others and to discover, you know, what those things are for us, what are those wounds and how do we see that word, and let's really try to reclaim it, you know. And I think we can only do that if we look into our real feelings and thoughts and unconscious beliefs about the word and about the witch hunter. It was so interesting. I recently had to write a feature about a place that I'd never heard of in the UK, and I was just assigned this, and it's nowhere near where I live. I just had to write about this place. It turned out that I have a book on my shelf about the place because it's where one of the most famous and brutal witch hunts went on, and it was absolutely fascinating, and I realised that it was work for my inner witch to do, and I was sharing it with all the people in this course that I was taking. Such a powerful and profound experience, and I think that that is my advice really, to get to know who that witch is for you, if you're claiming that word, if you perhaps have a thing about the word. I know that Mags from the Woodland Hag has talked a bit about this as well, the witch wound, and you know, the difficulties behind sort of reclaiming that word. I think it's such an interesting thing to get into, but I do think that we owe it to those who've gone before us, our witch forefathers and mothers, and you know, those who were executed, because we are also descended from the witch hunters, so we have that wound inside us, and I think it is really, really important to look into it. And so I think that that is a really, really interesting line of investigation that we can do as witches, and as a witch that would be something that I would really encourage other people to do if they've not already done it, or to go deeper into it if they feel like they want to or can. I think also advocacy work, I think that that's really, really important part, and my children take up a lot of my time, and that is part of it because I'm raising children, so I need to make sure that I'm raising them the best way possible. That's part of it. But when I have a bit more spare time, I'll be able to volunteer again like I have in the past and do some more things for charity. I think reaching out and supporting others and helping others is really, really key as well. So that's something I would just say. That's advice, I think. Oh, and don't be afraid to just get started. I don't think you have to do a year and a day of reading before you practice. You can do like an initiation if you want after a year and a day, but I don't think you have to do that either. I think you can just get going. But I do think it's a good idea to start with some protection work, you know, and not to jump straight into like a love spell or something like really big like that, like, because there are ethics and morals, and I think that that's another thing as well, figuring out what your ethics and morals are as a witch, as a tarot reader, if you do that, if you do anything for other people in that way, if you offer services, figuring out what your ethics are and what you're happy with has been really, really important for me on my witchy journey since I stepped back into my witch. So I'm gonna leave it there. I have talked a lot. I have really enjoyed this though. I think it's been so fun, and I really, really hope that you have enjoyed watching the video too. I am keen to see more of these videos, so do let me know below if you have done one. Maybe I haven't seen it. If you did enjoy the video, do click the like button, subscribe to me if you want to see more witchy tarot content, and don't forget to hit the little notification bell too. Thank you again so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in another video really soon. Take care. Bye. Mwah.